This is the Legal Podcast Network. You're watching Enterprise Unleashed, Business Law and Innovation. I'm Richard Corey. This is my show. Today we're filming part 2. It's episode 4, but it's part 2 of The Business of Me, where I have 2 very esteemed guests. I have Olivia Thompson and Ebis Lewis. So, Olivia, before we get into it, I just want to reiterate who you are. Olivia is one of the beauty industry's leading social media influencers. She's a published celebrity makeup artist for Paris Hilton and Nick Jonas. She has a vast experience in the beauty industry. She's been on billboards. She does trade shows all around the world. She's known for her viral hair hacks and has reached hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people with her love and her valuable insight to the beauty industry. Next, we also have Ebis Lewis, who is a certified bourbon steward and a cigar sommelier. She's known by many magazines as the #1 cigar influencer in the world, including Cigar Snob magazine. And she has built a huge reputation, an international reputation, where she does consulting. She's been the face of several of the biggest brands in the cigar industry. She travels around the world for trade shows. And I'm very honored and blessed to have you both here on my show today. So welcome. Where we left off, we were talking about some of the importance of taking into consideration the business of personal branding. So let's go with that. What are some of the most valuable lessons you've learned in monetizing your personal brands?
I would say the first thing is you have to believe in yourself. It's just as going personal level to business, because if you believe, you need to know your value. That's not how you start, a partnership, right? So if you know your value, you know what you bring to the table, what you can offer to the customer. That's the first step. As soon as you know your value, you can negotiate anything.
I want to second the value aspect of it, but you have to be a go-getter when it comes to it. So brands aren't just going to come to you. You have to put yourself out there. And what I like to do is my relationships, they go down in the DMs. That's where I talk to people. That's where I create a relationship. I get to know their name. There's a brand, there's an Ulta convention coming up and all the brands are there. And there's a couple of brands that I've been wanting to connect with. And I just have relationships via direct message, or I'll post about them on my stories and then they say thank you. So I think it starts with the relationship. And then from there, if they see value in your content, then you send them your pitch deck.
So what is a pitch deck?
A pitch deck basically explains what you've done, what you're doing now, and then what your future looks like. It also explains your statistics, your numbers, and then it shows what you charge and your monetary value of reels, stories, going live, in-person events. So I actually customize my pitch decks for every single brand that I work with.
So you and I have been working together for a long time. I've had the pleasure of negotiating several of these contracts with you. How often do you see, both of you, how often do you see clauses like non-compete clauses in these agreements?
All the time.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it depends on what it is. And to be fair, if I know that there's longevity in the brand, I don't mind that. But if there's a no compete, you're definitely signing for 2 years. You know what I mean? So I want to know that you're willing to invest in me for longevity if I'm willing to say no compete also. So I like long-term relationships personally,
Sure.
Because if I'm going to withdraw or hold out, I want to know that we're both in this and I've been using your product and I'm a loyalist and I believe in it. And you want to put value in me as well.
That's something when you said prepared to hold out, that's something that I've always tell my clients, where you need to be prepared to walk away. It's better to walk away from a deal than to sign a bad, because as we all know, once that contract is signed, you are stuck in that business relationship, for the duration of the contract. Now, if a contract is written by the other side's attorney, by definition, it's going to be in their favor. So getting back to the importance of having a business law attorney, that's where you have the opportunity to not only review and understand the terms of the contract, so you really know what you're getting yourself into, but it also gives you an opportunity to negotiate those terms. Now, what are some of the terms that you've seen in any of your contracts, any of your ambassador agreements, where you were just like mind blown that they had the audacity to even ask you that or try to get that from you? Is there anything that stands out?
In my case, exclusivity. I don't really do that. I mean, it's just the way I see it. It doesn't matter how great the proposal is. At the end of the day, you're like marrying yourself to one brand. So I avoid every time someone mentioned that word, I run. And like, I'm not doing exclusivity for 6 months or a year with any brand because I'm not going to be closing doors with other companies that have been working way before. So that's the way, for me, that's the red flag, exclusivity.
Like in the beauty industry, it's very common for exclusivity. But in the makeup world, I could use a different foundation, eyeshadow. Like it's very different. And I think that's a new, more common trend moving forward in beauty is like if you have a influencer with a captive audience, you don't necessarily always need exclusivity unless you're building a campaign around her that's going to go in print or that's going to go in store. So it depends on what the relationship looks like. But I think brands are getting a little bit smarter in the beauty industry, and they're just seeing these influencers, and to have any sort of attention with them for their captive audience, they're starting to get smart, and not exclusivity is always the situation now.
Ladies, do you think that there's going to be some changes in the future? Like historically, most brands would do print media or advertisements. Now with the onset of all these social media platforms, we're seeing more and more brand marketing and strategic marketing done through influencers like yourselves. What do you think are the trends moving forward?
Yeah, I believe in the cigar industry. It's just it's a very old school industry, 100%. They don't believe much in social media. So I have seen in the last 3 years a lot of brands trying to get involved, trying to see how can I be part of this, whatever is trending, how can I make more videos. I always say I love when people, it's like, I believe video people see more what's going on. It's kind of like the behind the scenes. Pictures are just like more like just, it was just a moment. The video is so much going on, right? So because I say it's an old school, it's going to take a lot of time for them to realize this is the future. And I mean, I don't want to say print is dead, but it's very hard to see someone, when you're in a cigar shop, you're reading a magazine. But most of the time you're looking at your phone. You're not really looking at a magazine anymore. That's old school movies that, the guys in the shop looking at the magazine. So it's a lot of great cigar magazines and they're doing a great job, but I know they're growing on social media. So they see the potential when it comes to online, because print is not something I see happening anytime soon. Like I don't have one customer or follower that mentioned, oh, I saw this on the magazine, let me go get it. I get the opposite. Hey, I saw your video yesterday, let me go find that cigar, So that's why I believe social media is the future and print is going to be very hard,
What about you, Olivia?
I second that with social media. I think TikTok hitting the scene really altered the way that we consume content, especially with storytelling, behind the scenes, more raw footage, longer footage, because Instagram is that 8-second attention span. It really is. But there's something about TikTok with people and seeing them in their cars. There's a psychology behind that, by the way. Seeing them in their cars, seeing them in their bathroom. It's a more like
Humanizing them?
What's that?
Does it humanize them more?
It humanizes them. It shows more urgency. Like, I couldn't wait to make this video. I just literally left the Sephora store and I have to show you this lip gloss, right? Like, or it's, I just got this in the mail. Like, it's showing an urgency aspect to it. So the way we're consuming, it looks a little bit different. And I'm starting to see that TikTok audience really alter with the Instagram, especially with carousels, and showing this more like flat lay of their life that's a little more in touch and a little bit more authentic. So what I'm thinking now is what I'm saying is the consumption, right? Digital is king, no matter what. Just like you mentioned, like digital is king. There will always be a space for print as long as there are stores wherever someone is going to pick up that product, but it's always going to look different. And I think even if it is print, there has to be some sort of fun activation behind it, right? Whether that's like a digital video on an end cap in store, right? Which I'm seeing a lot of. I'm sure like even in grocery now, you're starting to see that inside of the stores. So I think it's going to just look a little different.
Now, with the social media platforms and the access to all this content, I think we'd all agree that the law has not caught up with the forefront of technology. Like, in other words, technology is innovating and changing, developing, evolving faster than the law. What are some of the changes or impacts that you've seen with regard to how people are using, rightfully or wrongfully, your name, your image, your likeness, your trademark? Like, have you seen people utilize your content without your permission?
Yeah, it happens to me all the time. And just to something that you guys should know, how hard is the cigar and the spirit industry? We're not allowed to promote, pay for ad on Instagram, on Facebook, or any media, because you're not allowed to promote alcohol and tobacco. So it's very hard to be an influencer in this industry because you have no support from the platform. It's just you versus you trying to survive and grow. And so we don't have that help that I know a lot of influencers in different industries, they do. So in my case, obviously, they use my videos. I have different scenarios, different store in different part of the world using my videos. Like, oh, she's going to be here this weekend celebrating with us. So, obviously, I always approach like, hey, you need to remove that right now. But I had never taken illegal action because this is my industry is it's fun, it's the lifestyle, it's the hobby, it's about to have a good time with friends and family. So I never want to take it seriously. Like, sometimes if you tag me, you give me credit. I mean, if you know the wrong information, like saying, hey, she's going to be here this weekend, come to meet her. That is absolutely false. That's not right. But if it's something like, oh, she was here last week, and you can, it's different. It depends on the content. It depends where they're using life, and they're giving me credit. I'm okay with that. But if they use my videos or pictures and they don't give me credit and it's a false, information, obviously that's a whole different story. But that happens a lot.
Ibis, let me ask you something. If you're not allowed to professionally boost or post your put ads behind the content because it's cigars and alcohol, how did you get over 100,000 followers?
Like I said, it's been a lot of hard work. It's been connecting with, it's a very small industry. The cigar whiskey is bigger in a different scale. But I was trying always, like I say, offering like, how can I be different? Like pairings with whiskey and cigars, So it's not common to see a female that like whiskey and cigar, right? So I believe that's been my kind of like secret weapon because, I truly love whiskey and cigars, right? So, but it's been very hard. It's been absolutely hard because you don't have any way to promote it. And obviously, I don't make any money out of Instagram because I'm not allowed. My videos, I have a few like millions views or whatever. I don't get any money because it's cigar whiskey related. So it kind of sucks big time. But well,
I never thought about that.
yeah.
At what point, ladies, I'm going to ask you both this. At what point does somebody's start attracting sponsorship deals or ambassador deals? Like, in other words, is it the quality of your content, the amount of your followers, a combination of that? Like, at what point do these companies start approaching you and saying, hey, I'd like for you to be a brand ambassador for my company. Here's a contract, and we're willing to pay you for your services?
I would say engagement rate. I think community is so important for these brands. And that's really why they want to work with you, is because you have an engaged community that trusts you, that you add value to, that your videos align, and you're almost sister brands with that company. I always say, like, if you want to work with a company and you're pitching yourself, right? You can't just try to take, let's say, I'm just going to make this up. Like, you want to do, like, you're gothic, right? And you want to, like, you love this fairy brand because you love the product. But if your brand is so gothic and your colors are dark or they're green and theirs are pastels, it's not going to be a sister brand because it's not going to align. So that's why I always say, like, go with a brand that has your brand theme, because it makes it very easy to make content, to subject yourself to that company, to work with them. You can't have black backgrounds and work with a company that only does white backgrounds, right?
That goes back to what you said earlier about authenticity.
Yes, exactly.
As far as like the amount of followers that a social media influencer, like, is there a threshold that you see where it's like, all right, once you reach this threshold, now you're in the realm of, I can start getting deals?
It's all relative. It's like being rich. Like, it's, you know what I mean? Like, you can never have enough money. You can never have enough engagement or enough. But that's the way I work anyways.
Sure.
And I'm sure you all work that way too. It's never enough. That's why you're an entrepreneur. That's why you're successful. You trade a 9 to 5 for a 25/8. So it's like, that's how I see myself, where it's like, I'm never going to be in a certain threshold that I'm settled on, because it's always trying to build, engage, and take it to the next level. And there's definitely a personal satisfaction that goes along with building a brand until, maybe you just get burnt out, which is like a whole other episode.
Yeah. Well, I've had the pleasure of working with both of you on several contracts, several deals. And what we do is, whenever we get a contract, we go through it together. We make sure we understand the terms. How important do you think it is for people to really understand the terms of a written agreement? Not what's said to them, but what the actual contract language says, because there's differences. How important do you think it is for someone to take the time to learn that legal language?
So important.
It is absolutely important. That's why we need people like you. Because I truly believe influencers, they should have someone like you, like, a real lawyer that know the deal, would have their back, because we're dealing with corporate, you're dealing with companies, they have a bunch of lawyers, and you need to have someone on your side. So I would never sign anything if you don't look at it first.
Well, sure. And thank you for that. Coming down to the last couple minutes here. So I'm going to ask you each to give one last bit of advice for our audience, and hopefully we can get them back for another episode.
I would say just, you have to believe in yourself. Anything you do, personal, professional, any level, you have to believe in what you're doing. You have to believe in the brand you're working, because if you don't believe in where you're promoting, the message is not going to be right? So it's just alignment with whatever you're doing, and keep consistency. Keep doing it. Don't worry about if you don't get a video more than 10,000 views, if you don't get good engagement. Keep going. You have to keep going every day. And it's about, for me, consistency is the key of everything, in life, in work, in social media. So yeah, believe in yourself and keep going,
I'm all about that. Go ahead.
I think just getting started, it's like, I can teach you every algorithm. I can teach you every videography tip. I could teach you how to talk right. But if you can't get over yourself first, you're never going to do it. So being on social media actually takes a lot of inner work from the very beginning, and having those hard conversations with yourself before you even jump on the platform, and understanding why you're there to begin with. And then the last part is exactly what you just said. It's all about the consistency. It's building the relationship, and it's being authentic to yourself. So you could look at yourself in the mirror every day and be so proud of what you're doing.
You guys both know my brand, Actively Pursuing Excellence, the Go Ape. That's the acronym. I've been promoting that for many years. I just want to thank you both for being on the show with me. Thanks for tuning in to Enterprise Unleashed, Business Law and Innovation. To connect with me, visit my website at rcenterpriselaw.com. Look up Olivia, it's at OMG Artistry. And to see Ebis Lewis, it's Cigar Lover 12. Please like and hit the subscribe button below, and we look forward to seeing you on the next show.